An hypothesis is based on the fact that, have you heard today that there are some parts of the brain that there's no blood-brain barrier? You heard this morning. The hypothalamus has a very weakened blood-brain barrier as well. Why? Because besides controlling the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic, it also controls the hormones. And how does it control hormones? It controls it by a mechanism called biofeedback mechanism. Hormones enter, which are large protein molecules, enter the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus then sends messages to the body changing as it sees fit. And this is the crucial fact in why we know that large protein molecules are able to enter at the hypothalamus. And I'll come back to that very shortly. Why do we need a lymphatic system? Well, there's the clue. In the body we have the blood that drains toxins, and the blood capillaries drain toxins through a mechanism called filtration. Small molecules will enter the capillary membrane and go up the blood eventually to the liver and detoxify. But what happens to the large molecules, the nasties, the cytokines, as we've heard, lymphokines, cytokines, there's prostaglandins, there's lots of inflammatory toxins and infectious toxins that are too large for the body to cope with, the blood to cope with. So how does the body help? We have the lymphatic system. Large protein molecules enter the terminal lymphatics, which are the capillaries of the lymphatics, and they enter through these almost like a gill, as you see there. It doesn't matter how large the molecule is, it goes into the lymphatics. The lymphatics then will drain on the way, will stop off at lymph nodes until it gets to as it goes up the lymph vessels, and there's one directional flow, there's valves stopping any backflow, and eventually it ends up into the thoracic duct area in the left side, as you'll see in a minute. And also it ends up, eventually through the thoracic duct, it goes into the blood, into the left subclavian vein. Some of it goes into the right subclavian vein through the right lymphatic duct, and eventually ends up in the bloodstream, where it can be readily, after being broken down in the lymphatic system, it can be readily broken down in the liver. This is why we have a lymphatic system, because of the size of molecules. So the question is asked, and the question was actually asked in this university many years ago, and it's quite apt that I'm here doing this lecture now, because of Professor Weller and Professor Roy Weller, who some of you might know if you're from the university here, and together with Professor Helen Sir from America, who unfortunately died of a brain tumour when she was only 59. But he did work with her that showed there was a drainage of the brain to the lymphatic system. And it's crucial to my hypothesis. So I'm very privileged to be here in the same area as Roy Weller did his research. What they found, and as you've heard today from Hugh, that the perivascular spaces are very crucial to the drainage. There's cerebrospinal fluid drains in the perivascular spaces, down and into the lymphatic system. And this was shown very aptly by Kida, Pantazis and Weller in 1993, when they showed it in a rat, where they actually injected into the rat, and they saw through the cribriform plate, the olfactory nerves also have blood vessels, and the perivascular space around those blood vessels allow this drainage pathway into the lymphatic system in the cervical lymph nodes, and into the facial lymph nodes, eventually into the cervical lymph nodes.